Hi, this is Natalie, and we're talking again about second grade CCD curriculum. This year, I am going to be working out of this new Blessed curriculum. It's from the company called Dynamic Catholic. It's video-based, and in this case, it has two parts, the First Reconciliation and the First Communion. Each of these sections are broken up into 6 what they call sessions. Each session is supposed to be about 90 minutes. Each of those sessions is also broken up further into 7 short videos that also go with the workbook that comes with the program. Each video is about 5 minutes, like I was saying, and then there's additional in the workbook, and it would add up to about a 90-minute lesson. Now, I don't have that much each week. We have between 45 and possibly as many as 60 minutes for each class period, depending on what else the larger group is doing. Our classes are also right after school on a Wednesday night, so we are not able to get through more than half of one of the sessions at a time. I split it up into 3 or possibly 4 of the video episodes, depending on exactly how long they are and what they might cover. The videos, like I said, are about 5 minutes, but they may vary from 3 to 6 or 7 minutes apiece. This week, we started in with the very first lesson, and it was primarily about gratitude to God and thankfulness for the gifts that He's given to us. The most important of which we always have to remember is the life that He's given us. In this lesson, we also talked about all the other things we want to be thankful for. And of course, with children, they are thankful for very small things, and we should learn from them in that way. We're thankful for, of course, our families, but we're also thankful for our pets. We're thankful for water. We're thankful for rain and snow. We're thankful for all the small things that a child might think of, more so than adults. As we're talking about them in class, we want to be sure that we acknowledge all those tiny things, because our Lord did say, you should come to me like a little child. Also in this lesson was a video of an overview of the sacraments. Now, it was a pretty short overview. The sacraments are, of course, a full course each of themselves. But the first thing I also reminded my students was that all of them have already received one sacrament, which is baptism. Now, sometimes you may have a class where there is a child who is not baptized yet, so you would want to possibly point that out, not to put him on the spot at all, but to say that this child, Mary, is going to be baptized in a couple of weeks, and then she's going to also be able to join us when we receive the other 2 sacraments. I always write on the board the 2 sacraments we're studying for, First Reconciliation and First Communion. Under those, I write the dates. That's on my board the entire year. Right now, I wrote the date, and it's far, far in the future. It seems like it would never come. But by the time it comes, it seems like, 1, 2, 3, that day's already here. Now, as I go through each of these episodes, you have to keep watching the class themselves. Review the episodes after each one for the main ideas. And remember, these are small children, only second graders, and they're coming right from school. So sometimes, in this case, during one of the episodes, I said, okay, now during this part, the people on the video are talking about what they're thankful for. Let's stand up during this time and listen to what they're thankful for. That gave the students a chance to stand up and kind of stretch their legs. I could see they were still kind of getting antsy, but I really wanted to get through the 4th video in this case, this last week. And so before we started the 4th video, I said, let's stand up. We're going to walk around the perimeter of the room, walking, not running, and then we're going to quietly sit back down. All of these things, you want to be able to reach your students. And with the small children, you've got to be aware of the fact that they need some movement in your class. Many times I have gone to in-services for CCD teachers in our diocese, and so oftentimes they are talking about ideas for middle school or high school kids, and I very rarely felt like they were talking directly to me or our first grade teacher in our parish about the smallest children who have very unique needs as far as, managing that classroom and giving them the activity and the interest that they need in a different way than the middle school kids. Once we got done with our 4 videos, then we came back to our desks, and then I handed out. Everybody got their own workbook like this. This is one of the few times, if ever, in our parish that we're able to give the students their own workbook that they can write in themselves, and they'll be able to take it home when we're finished. In this book, in one of the very first pages, they're supposed to write their name and the date of their first reconciliation. So this is, of course, they write their name, but then on the bottom, they were going to write the date of their first reconciliation. That's coming up, and like I said, I already have that on the board. And many of them have kind of a hard time writing some of those big numbers, but we walk around. I have an older student that helps me out in the class, and we walked around and made sure everybody got that in there. Then we went to this other page where was a gratitude list. And we had to write on there what we were thankful for. I said to the student, we can, raise our hand and call out what we're thankful for. And then either I or our helper will write on the board so that we know how to spell that. And I wanted everybody to write at least 3 things. I find it helpful that I give them very specific instructions, what I want them to write or how much I want them to write. Now, there were a few students that wrote a whole bunch. They kind of filled up the whole page. They were better at writing. And then other students wrote the exact 3 things that we happened to write on the board, or 3 of the things we wrote on the board. That's just fine. That way they have something, and everybody is included, and no one feels like they can't do the assignment as well as the other person. Then by that time, we still had some time left in class. I find it always important to have a variety of things available because you're never really sure how long a certain part of the lesson is going to take. So the last part of our lesson, I always like to do a lot of teaching by using stories. We used my book about Adam and Eve. I have a whole series of these Bible stories in this easy-to-read series. And we read through that, and then we reviewed the story of Adam and Eve. Of course, they were very familiar with this story. They read it many times in first grade. So that is about it for week 1. Now we're going to move on to week 2. Thanks for watching. Bye now.